3, 2, 1. Good?
Yeah.
All right. What up, y'all? It's Micah Bournes, and I'm here with Lucee. And we just recently released our project, Songs with Lucee. It's an 8-track project about love and in all different expressions of it. Loving our neighbors and loving ourselves and romantic love. And it's really cool. And we've been working on it for a long time. And so we wanted to tell you a little more about how the project came about, how we met, and how we started collaborating creatively. So I actually went to college with her older brother.
Yep.
And so I remember he hit me up one time and he was like, hey man, my little sister is actually wanting to get more into music and make music. And I know you've been doing your thing as a while as an artist. So if you're down to meet with her and just, help her, I don't know, figure it out a bit, I would appreciate that. And I was like, bet, no problem. He's like family to me. So we met, and honestly, it didn't take long for us to realize that we had a creative vibe. Like our very first session, we talked for hours and there were tears and like she was crying a lot. And literally from that very first session, we wrote Kissed, which was a song on my last album, A Time Like This, featuring Lucee. And it's dope. It was like first try, like, oh, this is a good fit. And so we felt really comfortable with each other, just as people and safe with each other. And then also creatively, we liked what we came up with. So from there, we just started kicking it. We would have writing sessions and we started doing shows here and there. We didn't have that many songs together though, so it would be like the same 2-3 songs. We'd have these short sets, and it was fun. But the more we did it, it became obvious. Like every time we would perform together, and we would see how people would respond to the messages we had and the presence and the energy we brought to a room. It was like, I think there's something there. I think we got to do something more than just do these little side gigs here and there. And so we started talking about doing a whole project.
Okay, let me tell you my part of the story now. First of all, I had to wear waterproof mascara every single time because this person just loves to like dig into your, like, you're like, he's like, how you doing? I'm good. What does that mean? What is good defined as today? I'm like, I don't know. So just like always something with this guy. Anyways, I joke about it and Micah gets on my nerves, and I've said that a million times. But I will say I'm very grateful that he has been really persistent, because this project was not easy to make on my end. It was not easy to make. We did have some songs, but honestly, I didn't love them. And I would perform them, and I'd just be like, people liked them, and so I was like, cool, but like, I didn't really believe in them until probably yesterday.
It's true. Oh man.
Yikes.
But what
So
so what was the turning point for you? Because I remember we had several conversations where you were like, oh, I get it now. I see it now.
So
what was that turning point?
I really hated most of the songs.
Keeping it real.
Yeah. And so for me, it didn't become real. Even Micah's work, I appreciate Micah's work, and I am sorry that I didn't recognize this sooner, but my real journey, honest journey, was even your work. I couldn't appreciate what it was until Micah invited me to go sing with him in New York, in Canada, in London. When we went, and I saw it here too at the little shows, but when I went, to those bigger shows with him, I got it. And I realized not just what the music was, but what Micah's work is. I feel like what his legacy is, honestly, is this incredible ability to speak on topics with such force and I'm stealing words from Micah, and a hug at the same time. It's like, hey, let's talk about real things, but I'm gonna walk with you the entire way. And I feel like until I saw the responses that I saw when I went to these places, I am telling you, I didn't understand. I didn't get it. And I had a new appreciation. I don't even know what the word is, like appreciation, like honor for Micah's work, just Micah's work on its own. And then being but then being a part of that, two things. It was awesome because I got to be on stage and seeing the responses, and it was crazy. But two, and I think more importantly, it forced me to look within myself, and it forced me to look at the songs to see why the heck are people responding the way they're responding. Mm-hmm. What does this song mean? So for example, we perform Kissed all the time. Mm-hmm. And that song, I'm like, yeah, let's talk about hair. Let's talk about my afro. And for me, writing that song was a whole thing. I cried the whole time talking about my hair. But even after singing it, I was just like, okay, whatever. But then in that turning point, I remember we were in Canada. No, we were in London. We had a conversation about race. Mm-hmm. And me and him didn't really agree on some things. And we were kind of like, you know, it was cool. It was a good conversation, and it forced me to look at myself and say, you know, do I really believe the message that I'm teaching through Kissed? And, you know, some people might not understand this, but even understanding that, like, you know, I'll like braid my hair or, you know, texturize my hair, right? No one knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, I'll do those things to my own hair and say, and then sing Kissed. I felt this like inconsistency within my own self and what I was singing about. So then at that point, or the other songs that we sing, like Broken Record and all these things, I'm like, I don't talk about justice this much, so I shouldn't sing this song. Or Just Like That, my song, I didn't really go through that experience, so I shouldn't be singing this song. And it became a real struggle, honestly, to be now on stage talking about these things that I was struggling within my own self. Mm-hmm. And then I felt unqualified, and I told Micah, and I was like, hey man, like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I can't sing these songs, you know. It doesn't, like, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I was like fearful of a bunch of things, and that was cool in itself, just because that's good to recognize that I want to be a hypocrite. But more than if I step outside of myself, I can, and when I stop making it all about me, I can say, hey, this music is important, and as long as I'm willing to go on that journey with the songs, every time I hear it, every time I sing it, I think I'm in a good place, because I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm on this freaking journey too.
Absolutely. And I honestly, it was interesting hearing her work through that, because when I first started getting invited to perform at a lot of like justice-oriented conferences, I felt the same way, because I mean, I didn't go to school for this stuff, especially at the time. I hadn't read a lot of books. When I started writing, I was just writing about my life, and I just happened to be a young black man in America, but I wasn't thinking I'm writing about social justice. I'm telling my stories, and then people recognized certain things in my poems and my music, and so they started inviting me to these places where everyone was talking about justice, and there was doctors, and you know, and there were you know, lawyers who were like petitioning the government for all these things, and then I'm like, yo, I got some spoken word poems and some rap songs, and I felt unqualified, and I remember I had this moment where I was at this conference and I was on a panel discussion, and one guy had worked, he was like the former president of International Justice Mission, and then there was another guy who was a lawyer who had like spoken in front of the UN, and then it was me. I'm like, I do spoken word poetry. I'm really dope at poetry slams and stuff, you know. And I just felt like, what am I here for? And I had this moment. I was like, if I try to fake the funk, I'm gonna look like an idiot. They didn't call me here because I know a lot of things about the law. They called me here because I wrote poems about my experiences and they saw value in that. So I just have to accept that and believe that I have something to offer. And so then I had already gone through that. So now I'm making music with Lucee and we doing these shows and we're having these conversations. I was like, oh, that was me, because Kissed is your story and it's talking about justice issues. We wrote that song because of what you said and the experiences you had, and it was very personal, and yet it resonates on a broader level, you know. And I don't even think, you know, when we go through things, sometimes we don't realize that there are bigger things at play. We just think, well, this is just our life or our pain. It's like, actually, no, like your mother didn't say that to you just because your mom is crazy. Your mother said that to you because white supremacy has been brainwashing people of color for decades into making us feel ugly. And so now we are communicating things to our own children that are harmful and not helpful. And my mom and my uncles and aunties have said the same thing, right? So it's like, oh, I thought I was just talking about me, you know? And it's like, no, I'm speaking to something bigger. And I think that's true, not just in justice issues, but in a lot of things, like songs with Lucee. This project, again, it's love songs. And when I say love, I don't only mean romance. I mean a lot of different expressions of love, but romance included. And it's kind of that same thing where, you know, you can be talking about a very specific person and a very specific experience or heartbreak or positive experience, and complete strangers are like, oh, yes, that's how I felt. Oh, this is bigger than just me. And so I kind of find it paradoxical. I found when I'm creating art that whenever I try to write something that would prove to my audience that I know what I'm talking about, you know, whether it's that broader justice or love, like I know how to do it, it always comes out shallow. But when I get specific and say, I'm not going to try to act like I know everything about this, but I'm just going to tell you a specific story and I'm going to speak what I do know. And those tend to be the pieces that really resonate with folks, whether it's my personal experience or a story from a friend, which I think, you know, just like them, it is a mixture, right? It's a mixture of things that you've experienced and things that people you know and stories you've heard. And I think that's beautiful, but it is specific, right? And I love it. I love this project because we both on our own are artists who make amazing stuff, but there's something unique that happens when we collaborate. Yeah. That, you know, these songs would not be the same, you know. And I mean, we both contributed to the writing and we both contributed to the melodies in different ways. You know, we kind of catered to our strengths and each song came about differently. But in the end, it was really cool to see. The strange thing is when she says, you know, she didn't like the music, she's not lying. Like, we had a whole conversation where I was like, I don't want to put out a project that you hate, but at the same time, I don't know why you don't like it. First of all, as an artist, that's really common. So many of my friends who make music or any type of art.
I just decided at some point to be super honest with you because it was like, Micah, you're just so passionate about everything. And I'm like, so like the songs, you're like, let's do this. And I was like, hey, Micah, I don't like it. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. Or you talk too much.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I need some quiet.
And it was helpful. The honesty was helpful because we shifted, right? Because I'm just thinking we're working on this stuff. Everything's going good. Like, oh, you don't like this direction. And okay, instead of taking it personal, like, okay, well, why don't you like it? Let's have a conversation. Can we get it closer to something we're both proud of? There's a couple things going on at play, though. First of all, I know a lot of talented people who just have a hard time. Being an artist is strange. You're constantly opening yourself up to criticism. You know, like other professions aren't necessarily like that. You like go to work and you're not, you know, necessarily being graded every day in that same sense of, you know, you put a song out and you kind of immediately see, well, how many people listen to it? What are people saying about it? All these things. And so there's that constant pressure. And it does make it hard to like, how do you measure a successful project or a successful song even? So there is that pressure, but then there's also the complication of two different artists with two different styles. So part of the reason why we were having trouble was we have different styles. And honestly, the music we make individually is nothing like the music we made together for either of us. Like I like hip hop, I make hip hop and spoken word poetry. She really likes pop music. Neither one of us made like gentle, folky sounding stuff. She was like, I don't even like acoustic guitar that much. And most of the project was acoustic. You know, it was just like, we wrote on the acoustic because it was easier. And so that's how we found the songs. But it was weird. It was just finding like, okay, we have different styles. Individually, we don't make anything like this, but this feels right for these songs. And so, yeah.
And I'm not kidding when I say I didn't like it until Friday, right before release day, when I heard the whole project. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I know, but they need to know I'm not kidding. And I was really, whatever, insecure about it or whatever. I don't know what the word is, but like I was saying, the reason I continued, because at one point this year, earlier in the year, I decided I was no longer going to do the project. I was like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to finish this project. And Micah was obviously really, I'm assuming, like, wouldn't have been super happy about that, but you were respectful, which is great. But at that point during this time that I had to really reflect on what I was going to do, it didn't matter whether I liked the songs or not, honestly. It came down to what's important. Mm-hmm. What do I want to leave behind? And what I felt like God was doing. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't deny that, not saying like, this is the whole, God is doing all this stuff through the music, but I couldn't deny that there was power in what we were singing, going to the shows and seeing the responses and hearing the stories back. I mean, I can't think about it without crying. Like, you would have to be there to experience like what it is. And so once I decided that the project was important, that's when I was like, okay, we'll finish this. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad we did.
Yeah, and just like to give one example of that, we were in New York at a college, and we had performed earlier in the day as like a teaser for our evening event. And Lucee had also spoken. So she had spoken to the auditorium full of college students. And then we said, hey, tonight we're going to have an open mic so you could come and read some of your own poetry. And then we're also going to do some more performing ourselves, right? So fast forward to that evening. And the open mic list it was something like 13 women and one dude. And they were not there for me. They were there because Lucee shared her story and sang in the morning and just was so vulnerable and opened up and really invited those women to come and speak and share their voice. And after the show, there was a line of college women just waiting to talk to her. And every single one of them had a story relevant to something that she touched on. And it was like, intense stuff. People just sharing their negative experiences of some of the traumas that they had been through. And they were just like, thank you for saying what you said. Thank you for singing what you sang. Thank you for doing what you do. And I was there like, yeah, because obviously I like making cool art. Like, it's fun. I think it's being an artist. But like Lucee was saying, it's not just about making good art or, you know, doing this thing that I enjoy. It's seeing the importance of it. And for me, that's what drives me. Because again, to me, I feel like this is success. If I'm more known one day, great. I don't care. I really don't. Because if I stay a small time artist, but get to create work that, you know, causes people to respond this way, to feel seen and get some healing through some of the things they've been through, I feel like, boom, like that, it's worth it. Mission accomplished, you know what I mean? And so it was cool because I had already experienced stuff like that with my own art, but then to see another artist who is getting started and seeing, yeah, same thing, you know, and that getting, I think it took a lot of courage on your end because you quit on me 3 times, not just once. Over the past 2 years, we had 3 different conversations where she's like, yeah, I don't know, we're gonna put this on pause probably forever. And I was like, all right. And I just waited and I said, you know, if you ever want to start again, let me know. I really like these songs. I could do them with someone else, but I would rather do them with you, you know, like, but anyway, but I think it took a lot of courage to overcome all the different things that were causing you to feel like you didn't want to move forward and say, this is bigger than me. It's bigger than how I feel about my own art. And I want to push through all of these things so that I could bless folks. And I mean, it's funny because of all the songs, like on the project, we collaborated on every single one except Just Like Them. That was all Lucee. She wrote the whole song. And that's the song that everybody's like, I was in tears. And it was like, I got a text from my sister this morning saying that song made her cry, you know, and she's like, it was so good. Y'all did a great job. I'm like, okay, but Lucee, Lucee up here moving people's spirits, you know? So it's cool for me to see. And I'm thankful that you pushed through.